Hello and welcome to another episode of Finding America, and today we're going to be quite literally finding America without the aid of borders. Now you may remember that back in during Vlogmas I actually tried to find all of the 50 states on a US map, but the borders were in place. They just weren't labelled with anything, so I had to guess them that way. That was hard enough. That was challenging enough, I think, for somebody who's not from the United States firstly, but I had taken an interest in American geography, and I have done for many years. But when you're talking about a map that doesn't have any borders, it's a different ball game altogether, specifically given that we've talked about just how America is not quite how you picture it when you actually come to look at a map, right? So we've looked at all of those quirks of the American map that kind of surprise you when you come to sit down, such as, for example, that Detroit is north of part of Canada, that sort of thing. So you've got these odd shapes to parts of the states and all of that. So that makes for an interesting quiz here and an interesting game that I'm about to play. And so without further ado and a bag of nerves in my belly, I'm going to try and guess all 50 states without any borders to guide me. Okay, we're underway, and I should say that I cannot afford to miss a single state. If I do, it's instantaneously game over. The first state to come out of the bag is Arizona. These are all at random, and so Arizona is going to be down here in the southwest. Let's see, you got Texas there, you got New Mexico, which is sort of tall that way, and I think Arizona would be about there. That's good. Okay, off to a good start. There's Georgia, so Florida, and then you'd have Georgia about, ooh, it's kind of tricky. It's about there-ish. Ooh, look at the fine margins. Look how close I was to being in South Carolina. Next up is Maine. That's a nice, easy one. The coastal ones are usually quite easy. Minnesota, another example, actually, or at least it's bordering Canada with this irregular shape up here. Colorado, part of the Four Corner States. And once you got one of those, it's going to be a bit easier, isn't it? So Colorado's right there. Oklahoma, just above Texas. You don't want to go too far out of the way here because Texas is kind of irregularly shaped toward the top of it. So I think it's a safe bet to go here with Oklahoma. It was pretty safe there. Vermont, so let's see, you got Maine, you got New Hampshire next to it, and then Vermont's going to be about there, I think. Yes. Ooh, very tiny state, so it's easy to get that wrong. They don't come tinier, though, than Rhode Island. Now, Rhode Island is sandwiched between Massachusetts and Connecticut. Now, Massachusetts is here. That's the sort of the gun handle part, and I think Rhode Island is round about there-ish. It is. Oh my goodness me, that was so close to being wrong. Maryland, not easy. So you've got, let's see, you've got Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and it's just sort of part of it is, I think, wait, let's see, let me think about this. It is, yeah, part of it's around this area. I'm going to click there. Yes, good. So that's helped there because that means that Virginia's border is easier to define. It's right there. Massachusetts, as I said earlier on, is this kind of gun shape. Nice. Kentucky. Okay, so you've got Tennessee right here. You have Indiana, which comes down to sort of there-ish. Kentucky borders Virginia, doesn't it? It's right here. Yes. Texas, nice and easy. Alaska, likewise. Ohio. Okay, so we've got to get the margins right here. Ohio, it's fair to say, would be in this region, yes. Wisconsin, just above Illinois, where I live, so that's nice and easy as well. California, can't really get that wrong. Been on the West Coast earlier last year. Louisiana, that's nice because it's got this sort of irregular shape that sticks out here, and I always remember that. Mississippi is right nearby to Louisiana. Montana, so let's see, you got the Dakotas. Montana's kind of a long state across the Canadian border, so I think it would be a fair bet to say there is a good click. It's a nice big state, so that helps. Nebraska, oh goodness. Okay, so we didn't want this so early on, but I think Nebraska is down here, isn't it? Let me think about this. No, don't click that because Wyoming's just above Colorado. So Nebraska would be in this sort of region, I think. Yes, ooh, and I was close to the border of South Dakota there. You've got to be so careful. Arkansas fits into this part here. Good. Delaware. Oh, thankfully the border's already been drawn out for us, so it's right there. That's nice. South Carolina, right next to Georgia. Nice and easy. Tennessee, just beneath Kentucky. I've got 3 minutes, 26 seconds. Wyoming, as I said, is just north of Colorado. That's a nice, straightforward one. Thankfully, we've got Nebraska in place, so that means that Iowa, which borders it, is easier to find. Utah, part of the Four Corners as well, right there. Kansas, central geographically of the United States. New York, I think the best bet here would be to just click on Long Island, and then you're safe, and you've got the whole of the state clicked in there. Michigan, nice and easy, the big bulky bit that sticks out into the Great Lakes region. South Dakota, thankfully, we've got all this part mapped out for us, so that was nice and easy. Washington, never going to get that wrong, are we? West Virginia, well, thankfully, I would have struggled, I think, with West Virginia if these other states around it hadn't already been put in place. Same with Connecticut. That would have been a tough one being so small. Alabama, right between Mississippi and Georgia. Good. Indiana, if I get this wrong, I need shooting because I lived there, of course, for 8 years. Pennsylvania is this big state right there. Florida, we'll never get that wrong. It was the first state that I ever stayed in. New Jersey is the big S shape that leads up to New York State. New Hampshire, thankfully we've got that cordoned off between Maine and Vermont. This is getting tense now. North Carolina is just beneath, or just above, I should say, South Carolina, so that should be straightforward, right? New Mexico, the other Four Corners state. Hawaii, that's nice and easy, obviously out there in the Pacific. Nevada, right next to California. I'm getting really nervous, but this should be fairly straightforward at this point. And then we've got Missouri. Make sure I'm doing this right, is right there. I've got time, so I can think about this. Idaho, I'll never forget the shape of Idaho. I look at it every day at work. North Dakota is up here. Illinois is my current home state, and one remaining is Oregon. That is 50 out of 50. I cannot actually believe I did that. Wow. Whew. Definitely the most tense thing I've ever done on camera, ever. And that includes the time that I filmed myself on the toilet reading a travel book, you know, and I'm glad I read that travel book because it probably helped with this. Let me know in the comments how you did as you were playing along. Did you think I was going to miss some of those? It was close on some occasions, wasn't it? I was close to the border with some of those. But again, I'm just sitting here in absolute awe of myself. That's really arrogant. But, you know, 50 out of 50, I mean, no borders. I think now I could call myself an honorary US citizen. I should be allowed to vote after that, don't you think? Let me know below. Thanks for watching, and all the best. Bye. Thank you, as ever, for watching this episode of Finding America. Are you surprised that I was able to get all 50 states? I must admit, I was quite surprised myself. Let me know again in the comments how you did. And if you'd like to keep in touch with me, you can do so at Twitter, Facebook, but more predominantly, I think, Instagram, where you can follow me at lawrence.m.brown. And if you like the work we do on this channel and you would like to support us, the best place to do that is going to be patreon.com/lostinthepond, just like these fine folks that you see here to the right. And I did mention, of course, at the very beginning of this video, the other quiz that I took that probably now seems underwhelming, in which I tried to name all of the 50 states, but I did, of course, have the borders on that occasion. But if you'd be interested, that video you can find right here. And as ever, you can slap, kick, punch, or whatever my stupid little face to subscribe. Just be sure that you click my little bell as well. That sounded better in my head.